Welcome to another episode of FinCrime&Me. Today we are joined by someone very special, and she has broken the glass ceiling in such different ways. So today we are joined with Alexandra Valencia. Currently, she is a Senior AML Compliance Analyst. However, she has been an ex-DEA officer, and she has the best stories. I have not been so excited to have someone on my podcast than Alexandra. And it's not just because she has, continued to learn. I mean, she's doing a master's currently as well as working, but she has the best stories. So I am super excited to have her on. And it's also very special that I am actually recording this in New York. And it's been so great to have this opportunity to, book in an hour and, get to know Alexandra a bit more other than just her career goals. So, Alexandra, welcome to the podcast. I hope you are just as excited as I am. And I am so excited to hear your story. And I think whoever I've spoken to in New York that I'm recording with you, they also have been super excited. So this is an episode that a lot of people are waiting for. So are you excited as I am?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before, but I'm so looking forward, so you can hear my story.
Nothing to be nervous about. We just want to know everything about your life.
Where should we start?
So, Alexandra, you've gone from being a DEA Intelligence Analyst and, to becoming a financial crime expert. What was the defining moment that you realized you wanted to actually pivot from, federal law enforcement to going into the financial crime world?
So when I started at DEA, I started as a linguist with the intercepted phones. We used to listen to that. Then I moved in to be a intelligence analyst. I started in New York. Then I went to Ecuador. Then from Ecuador, I was there for about 3-4 months. And it was very interesting how, things panned out there. And then I had to go to Colombia because political reasons. I couldn't stay because I was born in Ecuador. So they have changed the constitution and I couldn't renounce to my citizenship. So I have to be moved to another country, which ended up being Colombia. From there, I went to Puerto Rico, and then I finished. Throughout the years that I've been in DEA, now, mind you, I was a linguist before, so I've been around agents that already retired. So throughohout the years, you see different things and different things happen. I don't know if you remember when HSBC got fined $1 billion. A lot of my coworkers left.
Then.
Yeah, my coworkers left.
Yeah.
So then I started having a lot of issues there, and this opportunity came up to go into the banking industry. I went into that bank. It was a rural bank, urban bank, they call it, Black-owned in Newark. So it was supposed to serve the African-American community. Of course, the rest of the community, but it was focused on African-Americans.
Right.
And when I got there, I have no idea about banking. I get there, and I'm starting to see these things, and I'm like, oh, my God, is this is this real? Is this even legal that you can do all these things?
Yeah.
And I was so shocked because I came from such a structure and such a environment where you have to follow the law, you have to follow the rules. And I get into this bank where it's just people running wild, and I'm like, is this the way it's supposed to be? Well, of course it wasn't. So that was, I think, that was sort of my transition into the banking industry. And when I saw all that was going on, I was like, no, this can't be possible. And I understand now why banks get fined. Yeah. Because they really run wild.
Controls.
No controls. I mean, they did, but they didn't. And, me coming from the government, I had all my, when I started putting things together, my documentation, my writing, submitted it to the board, and nothing happened. And I'm like, well, what are we doing? Eventually I left because it was, and then I had a 5-hour interview with the OCC.
Right.
And they were very happy that I had done all that documentation. It was easier for them to track down things and be able to put things together. So they praised me
What
for
was
that.
the moment that you decided you wanted to leave a government job to go into the private sector?
Like, I had a few issues in the government that I wasn't very happy about. And this opportunity came up. They wanted somebody with a law enforcement background. Salary was great. And then I was back, and just at that time, my son was starting college.
Right.
So it felt that it was a perfect opportunity because then I could move back to New York and my son can go to school because here my ex-husband lived there. So, school will be a more affordable price.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons too that I decided to take this job, and here we are.
Here we are. So, as you mentioned, you are DEA. How has and also that you moved to different locations, how was your experience in Colombia, specifically Bogotá, to your investigation background? How did the demographic or the sort of typologies you saw there help you become the investigator you are today?
I really, when you talk about Colombia, Colombia is an amazing country. I love it. I love the people. Culture-wise, so much.
Yeah.
But as a DEA employee, you are literally in the center of the world. Like everyone has eyes on you, from any office around the world, from the administrator. Everybody has eyes on you. That can feel a little bit overwhelmed because sometimes I will get emails random from what, can you help me with this? Okay, but what office are you? Can you give me a little more information? So it was a bit overwhelming, but I think it was the best the best decision I made because I just walked in there. And they said, my boss at that time said, "Oh, you're gonna work with the heroin group, and you're gonna be traveling to the border with Ecuador." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I mean, I was in New York for like 2 years prior to that, and I had done investigation, but it was all more like lower level investigation,
Right.
but you still had more impact on the communities.
Yeah.
But when you go to Colombia, it's like, oh my God, like you don't know which way to go because there's so much going on at the same time that is super overwhelming.
With Colombia, there's always a notion of, high drug trafficking. And of course, that's probably why you were assigned to go there. How is the landscape there? Like, what was your day-to-day activity for investigations when you're conducting, that typology?
So there was definitely a lot of trouble, and not necessarily outside Colombia, within Colombia. Like I told you, my first assignment was in the border with Ecuador, so we have to go to that. The city of Pasto, it's called, and that's where the unit that we were working with that was focusing on the heroin production and the trafficking into Ecuador. That's where we were, and so a lot of our meat and potatoes was telephone intercept, and that was like my number one because I'd done it for years, and I can pick up. I'm very good listening.
Okay.
For example, now when I study, I have to put everything in Speechify. That's my best friend, Speechify, because it's all, and I can be working and I can be listening, and I will remember things, and then
That's
the minute that I
amazing.
have a word, I'll stop and then I'll go back.
Okay.
That's how I usually do it because that's what I used to do at DEA. I will listen to the calls, but I will start writing my reports on something else. And believe it or not,
But you can retain the information?
I can retain it.
That's amazing,
Yes,
Alexandra.
I think I developed that from also listening to telephone calls, because sometimes it wasn't really the conversation that you and I are having, but the outside noise. I mean, it came to the point that I could tell which one was the 7th train, or which one, which one was Jerome Avenue or which one was Roosevelt Avenue. I can tell by the sounds of the train which station which line they were close to. So it was a little crazy, but I could do that.
Such an unusual skill, Alexandra.
But I think it was from listening for all these years, listening. because sometimes you'd be surprised how much you can learn on the background and not necessarily the conversation. It was crazy. But I
And
was able to do that.
That's actually so important because I think we always, when you're gathering intelligence, you try to listen out to the exact conversation. And what you're saying is that there's more intel around the conversation.
100%.
And I think genuinely that's such a unique outlook because sometimes they can be having such an ordinary conversation, which doesn't provide much intelligence, but sometimes we put that, information to the side. And maybe that's what we should look out for, is what's going on around. And that's a really good analogy of how we should look at financial crime as well. Don't just look at what's obvious, look at the things that are on the outskirts as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so those were pretty much what I did. And also, from whatever interception, whatever intel we got from the actual phone, now that these are legal intercepts, so now these become evidence.
Right.
So you have to write the reports, because if you don't write the reports, it's like it never existed. So you have to do summaries, send the agents a summary, and just identifications of people, whatever it was. You had to do it. It was constant writing, constant listening, and constant talk. So I'm doing my reports. I'm listening to my calls, and they're like, "Hey, I need you. Can you come upstairs? I have somebody that has information outside, totally unrelated." And then I have to go outside. Okay, and then I have to sit and listen to these people. So I'm a native speaker of Spanish, so a lot of the agents, they have enough knowledge, but not to carry a conversation like this.
Right.
It's and how to ask questions and make sure they understand. So a lot of them felt a lot more comfortable if I was there. And I think at that time, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it was me and two other people, or maybe one other person that spoke Spanish fluently. So we were also tied in a lot, which was really good, because then I learned a lot about interviewing, debriefing, proffers. Like, there were times I was just like, okay, I gotta go. But the agent would be like, why? Is this guy's lying? I'm not sitting. I have a lot of work. I can't. Time. I gotta get off.
How would you be able to tell that he's lying?
Just by the way they talk. They, first of all, they love to look at the news, and they will go back to you and tell you. I'm like, nah. Like, you're not telling me anything that I know that is not out there.
Right.
Or you're not telling me anything that I can verify. Or you're not, like, it's just, and also the whole demeanor, the whole way they carry the conversation. You're like, listen, I'm like, nah. But there were other ones that you're like, when you were like this, wait, what? Wait, tell me that again. And, that's when you're like, okay, this might be legit. Now, mind you still got to verify it.
Of course.
But I think that was a great experience to be able to, like, talk to people and kind of, like, take that. I work part-time at a restaurant, and you'd be surprised in 5 minutes how much I know about the people that I have never met in my life.
Yeah.
They're just sitting on my table, and in 5 minutes, I know their life story because I know how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it was so funny. The other day, my coworkers, they wanted to know who started some rumor. I said, give me a couple of days, I'll find out. And I did find out. And they were like, wow, how'd you do that? I said, don't you worry about that.
Yeah.
So I think it's an amazing skill.
Well.
Yeah, it's an amazing skill to be able to talk to people. Not only talk to people, but actually kind of take stuff out of them, how to do it.
Yeah.
Like when your boyfriend wants to know how much, if you're cheating on your girlfriend.
So you can, I feel like you pick up on what's not said.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
A lot. I pick up a lot.
Yeah.
And I also pick up the way like I look at people
like behavior, like body behavior.
Yeah,
and
everything.
Stuff? Okay.
Like, it's surprised when I get tables and I'm like, oh, these people are on the first date.
No way.
100%. We put bets on at the restaurant. I'm like, I want to bet, and I'll figure it out, and I'll find a way to ask. I would say 99%. I'm not wrong. Or when the dates are going wrong, I'm like, oh, no, this is not looking good. So,
I love that. I love how there's little fun games that you can play with the intelligence skills that you have.
Exactly. That's what I learned from And also, I think it helps that I've been around the restaurant industry because that's where I went to school for. Because I love the restaurant industry.
Okay.
I think it also talking to people, you learn so much about them, and then you form a connection with them. And I think by interviewing a lot of these people, now mind you, I interview really good people and really bad people.
Yeah.
So it was in a way sort of funny, I guess, when you see like these guys that will have no problem shooting you in the middle of the street say, what else would you like me to tell you? What, like, man, what would you, and like, okay, come on. My kids don't even listen to me. Okay.
Yeah.
But it is rewarding.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like, I don't want to say ego, but it does bring a little bit of your ego too, like, okay, I like this. I like this.
And they
I like to
open
feel
up to
powerful.
you. Why not?
Exactly.
And I find, obviously, when you are in law enforcement, you do hold a different power to, what we do kind of in the private industry. But with regards to your investigations and interviewing skills, were there specific terminology used that we are unaware of when it comes to drug trafficking, or how they were doing their deals, for example? Did you pick up on a better word is like slang or anything that was very different to what we would experience in UK or America?
Well, they use all kinds of code words, and you have to learn them, and you have to. I would never forget that we worked on one investigation. There was they used the word fan in Spanish, which is a very long word called ventilador, and each letter had a number, and that's how they communicated. They use, they call the drugs all kinds of stuff, the cake, the pastel, the this, like. But it was unique to every single group. So you needed to learn their slang because their slang may not be the same as the next group.
Right.
So everybody has their own way to. And actually, I was back in, I don't remember what year it was. They were having issues with the case. Since I was doing the wires, I can hear and I know what, like if you tell me this and that, I know exactly what they were saying. So one of the agents came up to me and goes, would you mind testifying in court? I said, testifying in court, like for what exactly? Because I used to go to grand jury and then just to say that we're, listening to the lines.
Of course.
And I'm like, okay. I said, to say exactly what? I was like, no, you have to testify to narcotic codes. I'm like, what do you mean? Like when they say, oh, yeah. Okay. So I went, I testified like a narcotic codes expert. I still have it in the Southern District of New York.
Oh, my God.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
But, things like that I feel like a lot of the agents saw that I was sort of, like I was into it and they really like me. Sometimes they will fight. It's like, no, can you sit on my phone? Or Leo, no, can she sit on my phone? Because they knew the outcome that would be very positive. So I think those are things that you pick up, but it's more, like in Colombia, they have different words. In Dominican Republic, they use different words. So you have to learn. And I think that.
Did your background, help with that? I'm assuming so, because you could easily understand the culture. So you would understand whether one, word means something different in one region and whether it means something different in another.
Exactly. I feel like I learned so much because what we say in Ecuador is not the same as they say in Colombia, or it could be the same word, but it's not the same as Puerto Rico, the same. So you feel like you have to learn all these slang from different countries so you can understand, okay, what is it? Where are these people from? And kind of understand what they're talking about. Because sometimes you didn't know if it was money or if it was drugs or phones or what it was. So you need really to pay attention. I think that came from just learning, talking to the agents. Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Oh, you know what? We did surveillance. We saw this and this and that. So it was a sort of like a big communication, trying to keep up and try to understand what they were seeing on the street and what I was listening in-house and kind of put it all together because you needed all that for prosecution.
Yes, very true. Now, most of us know that I am a fan of The Wire. Great show. And I will always say that. So your previous, world was essentially what, they show in The Wire. And back then, there wasn't much technology advancement. how were you able to, listen into phone calls and view what's going on the street, but then also manage the financial transactional side?
So you have to, well, mostly in Colombia, because I spend, a lot of my time, I would say the core of my skills came out of Colombia. So the investigators will do their reports. They will do their surveillance reports, and they will also do the phone call report. But I used to listen to me. I like to listen to myself and then make my own. Because I did have a lot of experience on wiretappings. So just kind of put all that together and talking to them, because sometimes they will see things, but they will not think is relevant. But because I couldn't tell them everything that I knew or everything that I was doing. So I would be like, oh, this and that. And so sort of like, okay, let me try to see what else if I'm missing something. Hey, have you, hola, hola, say, hey, by the way, have you seen this or have you seen that? That sort of thing. It's a lot of listening, a lot of, I said, you need to have a good memory. You need to put a puzzle together. It really is a puzzle together. Now, when you talk about financial crimes, that's a little more tricky. I feel like drug investigations is so much easier because you know that it's going from A to B, and there's going to be transportation, there's going to be all this, and the routes don't change. They're the same routes because it's like anything else. Like when you go home to work, you go the same route.
Yeah.
Unless there's a problem, you take a different route. So
exactly.
These people were the same way. They will use the same route until something happened, and then they will change. Okay. But when it came to money, it was a little more difficult. You definitely needed a CS to tell you, okay, this money that we were picking up money here in New York, we're picking up money in Portugal, we're picking up money in seizing and all kinds of stuff. But how do you tie that into the actual drug crime, which was very difficult? People think it's easy. It's not. It's very difficult. And I really think that this is when you need your informant. The informant is the one that's going to tell you, yes, this, and that. For example, in the case that I have with Jorge Cifuentes, he had, his family was the immediate family, but then they have somebody that was sort of like a right hand, and he oversaw like the logistics of the operation. Well, it's out in the wild now. He's became an informant, of course. So we approached him, and he became an informant. And he was able to tell me, because I had records. I had financial records. Take that back. Not financial records. It's like this person we picked up in New York, we picked up in Miami, we picked up here, and just the ledger, the money pickups that they did.
Okay.
And
so
to
more
pay.
Cash pickups?
Exactly. We had a lot of cash pickups. But how do you
tie that
exactly.
together? Right.
And that's when we needed him.
Okay.
And then when we started going back on the dates, because there were things I knew, but there were other things I didn't know. And he put it all together for me. It's like, because I was like, okay, this date, well, this will match with this one. But it was a seizure. So we're, maybe they owe this from the low before, or things like that, sort of that. So money laundering is very difficult to prove.
Especially when it comes to cash.
Especially when you pick up bulk cash. And even with the wire transfers. Because remember, in Colombia, they use a lot of the black market peso, where you literally go to San Andresito, which is like, like all the shops.
Okay.
And somebody might need to pay somebody somewhere else, and they sell the wire transfers.
Interesting.
And that's how they sell wire transfer. The broker takes 3, 4, 5, 6%, and then the money gets
and
picked
5-6% is nothing when you're dealing in the millions, right?
Yeah, when you're doing millions, yes.
It's nothing. So you're happy to let a bit go, and your I guess your wire transfer can be anonymous in essence, right?
I remember that we did one, and the wire transfer went to Mattel. The company.
No way.
That's how crazy it was.
Wow.
They were able to buy a wire transfer, because if you're in Colombia, you want to buy something in China, but you have no way to pay it. They'll figure it out, and they'll send the money, and you
That's
turn
so
the money in
interesting.
Colombia. Wherever the money is, you turn in the money in Colombia, and
they'll manage it.
they'll manage it. That's how they. And if you see now the Chinese money laundering, it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's sometimes it strikes me to see like people think that this is all new. This is not new. But China has you can't take too much money out. You only can do 50,000. So what happened with that? It creates that whole underground thing,
It
or the
does.
mirror transfers.
Right.
Like, I have 50,000 in New York, you have 50,000 in China. Well, where can we do the exchange? Somebody else needs it.
Right.
So it's like it hasn't really changed.
No.
It's just with all the regulations, all you do is just create like I just told you.
Yeah.
Like, if
It's
this route doesn't
black
work,
market
I'm going to
for
go to the different
financial transactions now. Where does it stand when crypto comes into
Oh my God!
play? Then?
It's curious, but I do not have a job in crypto. I work for a bank, corresponding banking, but
you are, you're very involved in the crypto
Exactly.
sector. Like, I mean, I'm waiting for you to get a crypto job with everything that you're doing within the sector.
I will hope so. I'm not applying. I'm waiting for like the supermodels.
Yes.
Waiting for somebody to give me a job.
Well, if anyone does watch this and, you want Alexandra on your team, you get a wealth of intelligence.
I always say after March, I'm going to be a little higher price. So the crypto, so I'll take you back a little bit of my personal story so you can see why this transition.
Yeah.
So I moved to Miami on 2023. I left everything here in New York, my kids, because my dad and my mom are in Miami. My dad was very sick. So I moved so I can spend the last few months with him.
Yeah.
And now this bank that I'm with, I love the bank. They're amazing people. They have been so supportive with all my family matters and me moving to Miami. They have been very supportive, and these people are. I can't even say thank you because it's not enough. But then when my dad passed away, my mom went to Ecuador for a few months with my sister, and I found myself, just by myself and my son, who's, it's a teenager. So,
Yeah.
and I say, I'm tired of doing this. Like, I need to learn something else. Like, what happened to me when I'm always, I was working in Colombia, and I'm doing a master's degree at Michigan State University on law enforcement intelligence and analysis while working in the busiest office in the entire world. When I'm running, and I have to give it to my librarians in DEA, they did all the research. I didn't do no research. I had no time.
Yeah.
I will give them the topic. They will send me a whole bunch of files. I'll go through them because we didn't have ChatGPT back then.
No.
So I had to read and see what's good, what's not good. And I'll be like, okay, can I have more of this?
Yeah.
And so imagine the pressure there, getting home, and then somebody called, you got to go, come back, travel, this, that, whatever. And then I said, what happened to me? It's like, I need to learn something. So I start Googling.
Okay.
How can I do this crypto stuff? The first thing that popped out was Merkle Science.
Okay, yeah.
So I went and I did the certificate, but I'm like, I don't understand none of these things. I watched webinars. I went to many conferences. I went to ACAMS. I went to SBC America. You name it, I was there. Like, already people I don't know his exact position, Eric Schneider for Kraken.
Yeah.
I just saw him on Monday. He's like, okay, I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Just people that get to know you for being there, asking questions, always talking to them. And then I said, I think I like this crypto stuff. But then I went to SBC Americas. And then I listened to Bill Pascarell, who is one of the top attorneys on the gaming space.
Yeah.
And you listen to him, it's like listening to Eric Schneider from Kraken.
Okay.
They're so candid. They tell you how it is, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
This is the way that we're going, and I love that. So then I started doing gaming, payments, crypto, and I've been doing a lot of crypto. Then I did a webinar with Robert Whittaker and AJ from Codex what's in there.
Yes.
So I started listening to this. Then I started following AJ on LinkedIn, and I bumped into Steven Sargent.
Okay.
And that's where my whole journey really started, full force.
Yeah. Steven's
honestly,
great.
Steven has been, I don't even have words to say thank you, because I don't think there's enough to say thank you.
Yeah.
He truly has guided me. He has told me what to do. I took his chain analysis reactor course, and I truly learned a lot. Then I went to another conference, and I got access to the TRM, and I was able to do the investigator. And I'm telling you, if I did not have Stevens, I would have not done that. I would have been there forever.
No, you do need a good basis. And I think personally, as an investigator in crypto, I always say I think, chain analysis is a good starting point. And then when you go into TRM, it just amplifies what you have a good, foundation on. And then you can just continue to grow. And then you're using two different tools to understand the same activity, but they're showing in different ways. And also you're getting different information, and
they're a little different.
Yeah, they're quite different, but it helps you gain a bigger picture. And then of course always looking at the blockchain explorers provides you way more information, which not always a tool can provide. So it's putting it all together. But would you say Steven's your mentor?
I think in a way he is.
Yeah.
I think he is. I listen to him a lot, and back if we backtrack a little bit to like August, I used to pay a lot of attention to him and just the things that he said. And I will never forget, I said, I want to work like here, like do volunteer work. And he's like, but I keep asking, but they said, no. He's like, oh, maybe you need to create it. And I'm like, is this guy for real? I'm like, reading this shit.
Yes, you do. Do you know, actually, that is such great advice. I always notice if you're not, sometimes people don't know that they need you until you create the position.
I learned that.
Yeah.
I learned that from him. And then, now I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm actually creating it on my own. But it was funny because when you see, you first hear him, like, what is this guy talking about? Like,
Yeah.
and then.
And we're not used to it when you come from law enforcement, because law enforcement is very much like, this is your position and this is your rules, this is your path. And then in private sector, you notice that you can actually pivot, but you just don't know how to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think with the government, I feel like you have more access to a lot of stuff, and you can just go as far as you want. Here, it's a little more. Now, I think crypto has changed that a lot. Needless to say, you get to a service provider, and that's where you stop. And then that's when law enforcement comes in.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we used to be more territorial, for lack of a better word, with our cases. Like, this is my target, my investigation, my. Now with crypto, you can't do that because you can't.
No.
There's only so far you can go as an investigator, as a private.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna need your law enforcement because they're the law, the power to freeze, to seize, to get information.
And to get information. And collaboration is key.
Yeah, super.
Even with private partners, because sometimes if for example, one of my cases will always end up in another exchange. And if I know that the funds remain there, then only I can actually inform law enforcement to contact them or ask them to, put in a soft freeze just to give me time to get law enforcement on board. And when collaboration works, that is when I truly have seen the best seizures.
Indeed. I think it's really important. I wish exchanges would create a 314B.
Yeah.
Everybody will be happy. Then everybody can share information. But I don't know if that will ever happen.
It depends if all the exchanges, partake in that. I'm interrupting this episode to remind you to stay safe online. Scams are everywhere, ready to take your hard-earned money. Please ensure that you do not share your passwords, do not click on unusual or unexpected links that come through your emails, text messages, and even WhatsApp, especially when they purport to be from your bank, card company, the government, your crypto exchange, and even family and friends. If you do fall victim to a scam, please report this to your local police as soon as possible. Please also report this to your bank, your card companies, and even your crypto exchange. Please stay safe online. Thank you, and let's go back to the episode. But I'm not sure if all exchanges, are at this point in time. Banks do, as I've come from the banking industry, and we used to have
absolutely.
indemnities as well, but not. I don't know if it's being adopted widely with exchanges at this point in time.
I think with crypto, another great feature that it has is like you can just go and look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to have a fancy tool. I can just go to Arca. I can go to Metaslaw.
That
I
is
can go to any
true.
other option and look at things. Let's just say I'm not an experienced tracer, but I am learning. I am trying to learn to understand because at the end of the day, it's the same thing. We got to understand the flow of the money. Where is the money going? And where's the money coming from? And that's what we did in money laundering investigation, because you have to know where the money's coming from so you can tighten if it's coming from you pay me for the drug shipment that you received. I need to tie that into the investigation so that way it can go and we can see where the money ends. And I think it's the same thing when it comes to crypto. You know where the on-ramp is. If you learn where that and where the on-ramp, the rest is just payments, one payment after another payment, because it's the beginning and the end that we want to know, because that's what's going to make a huge difference in the investigation. So I don't think there's a lot. It's just a lot more bridges and mixer and all these crazy things that the blockchain has going on. But I think as technology evolves, all that is going to change. Somebody's going to come out with some kind of tool that's going to say, oh, this is where it went.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, and especially with AI adoption, I'm sure we'll be able to at least skip out some steps. But, I mean, you're right. At the end of the day, financial crime remains financial crime. If you're following the money through the banks, the way I see bridges and swaps is that, it's gone through a payment processor like Western Union and gone to Colombia and then come back in a different way. And, it's the same, but just with different words. And you just have to learn to pivot your mindset that traditional money laundering through TradFi is the same in crypto.
It's the
There's
same.
no difference. It's just following it in a different way.
I mean, what's the difference between sending, like I read somewhere that they had, like they found wallets going to Iran, through exchange and all. What's the difference between that when you're doing money pickups or you're doing a wire transfer for, the FARC in Colombia, or you're paying bulk cash? I mean, it's the same. It's the same terrorism. It's narco-terrorism. It's terrorism. It's the same thing. It's terrorism financing. So it's just the rail that has changed. So you really have to. I have a case study coming up on March 10th.
Okay.
I am doing it with one of my. Well, he wasn't really my former target, but I guess he was. So it's going to be really interesting. I have Malik from Deconflict and Robert Whittaker, who's amazing crypto.
Yes.
So that should be pretty interesting, because we're going to break down a case and to show people that, there is not a lot of difference. It's just an extra form of payment.
Yeah.
That's all it really is.
I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of these high-risk, cases, how did you, as a female, manage, high-risk cases and being in a high-stress job and, and high-priority cases as well, where you have to move fast, where, you've got a family? How did you manage that as a female?
I'll just tell you something. When I moved from Colombia to Puerto Rico, my 20-year-old now, at that time, I think he was like maybe 7. He says to me, or 8 maybe. No, he was like 8. He goes, Mom, I really like it. Now you come home when it's daytime. I was like, oh my God. That's how bad it was. There were days, I am not lying. There were days that I would not see the daylight only when I drove to work. And we were so busy. We were doing so many operations because everyone was like, oh, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Because I am that. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm in. Just tell me what I need to do. I'm in.
Yeah.
And they also like the fact that I spoke Spanish, so things were a lot smoother.
Okay.
I remember Edward Kim. He's a U.S. attorney. He probably is a big boss now. I'm not real sure if he's still at Southern District of New York. I needed to sit into all his proffer. He didn't trust, like, I know that some of the attorneys will bring their own translators. No. It's like you need to sit. There were times I would sit in prophets for like 8 to 12 hours.
Wow.
Just listening. So can you imagine?
Yeah.
And then try to redirect the questions and try to understand or this or... So I learned so much from Ed Kim when he was asking the questions. And I think that was very valuable from my perspective, because then I was able to use that when I just interviewed somebody that came in and they wanted to give information. And I'm like, okay. There's so many crazy people came in too. So I was like, okay. But I think it was an amazing skill that I learned a lot from Edward Kim, especially when he ran the proffers. Because now, remember, he's taking notes out because this is all going into prosecution. So it's different when you're trying to fish for information or try to verify information than when you're trying to put information together for prosecution. Exactly. So it's different angles when you conduct this interview. And I feel like at the time, I was like, oh my God, Ed Kim is coming to Colombia. Like, I won't do any work. I'm just going to sit for hours and hours and hours. But, it was a great skill. He left me with a great skill.
Yeah.
I can run a proffer, no problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because I learned from him.
Yeah. So. I think it's always so nice to have someone that, you can learn from, that inspires you, and you can adopt their skills. That is so underrated. And I always find when you have that in your journey, it just takes you to another level.
Really
I think everyone should have, someone where you just get inspired by and you just think, I want to learn that from you. Because, like, for example, how you said, to look at where you're listening to conversations and to listen on the background instead. That's something I never thought of. And now I'm going to try to use that.
Yeah,
it's inspired me to learn that from you.
I tell you this story really quickly. There was an agent in Detroit who had... So the way the intercepted communication worked is the judge will only give you 30 days, and you needed to prove all these things. And it was very difficult because by the time the judge approved it was already done, the phone. So then you have to get a roving order and all kinds of stuff, and it gets really complicated. So they had a target in Detroit, but they only had the phone that he was talking to his wife. And the judge said to him, I'm going to give you 10 days, and in 10 days, you don't have anything, I'm going to shut down the phone.
Wow.
So guess what? They flew me over. They flew me over there to help them those 10 days. And I'm working and nothing and nothing. It's like day 5, nothing, 6, 7. And all of a sudden he's talking and he's doing something. And I'm like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
Then I realized he's washing the car at a car wash. And I said to the agents, listen, this is Detroit. There are not that many car washes that you got to run over there and so you can follow him. And by the time they got there, he was gone. But the people were able to give him the license plate of the car. But the license plate was wrong. They had an amazing cop there who's really good with addresses. This is another person I learned a lot from. And he started playing with the letters and the numbers. And we didn't have the car, but we came up with the name that we already had seen before, which was the girlfriend of one of the customers. So I said, it has to be. So we start running her to see all the addresses, everything. And they start doing surveillance, all the addresses, and we found him.
Wow.
So now, that's a good one, right? But we're like day 8. And
Oh,
we're like,
wow.
oh my God, we're going to turn this phone over. We're dead. That's it. It's over. And then all of a sudden, they see a truck come in and it goes right into the garage. And they were like, okay. Now we started looking good. So the agents go to the people across the street, say, would you mind let us do surveillance? And they say, okay. And I think the next day they saw the truck. First of all, they saw them with large bags of,
Okay.
garbage bags going into the garage.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So we didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the guy comes out. They start following him. They follow him all the way out. They stopped him, and we found $1.5 million on the bed of the truck. They had a trap. It came up all neatly packed.
That's
So the judge say, okay, you can keep the
amazing.
phone up.
And you were against the time as well.
Could you imagine? I
That
was
is
like, oh my God,
brilliant.
we're like crazy.
That really just goes to show that one vital intelligence that you gave can really help.
Yeah, exactly, because they all spoke Spanish. Remember, nobody spoke Spanish there. It was only me. And I'm like, okay, we got to run to the car wash right now, find this guy.
And to hear that it's a car wash, that's amazing, Alexandra.
Yes, it's just like, oh my God. It's like, because then they went, whatever. And it was great. It was great. That I think at the end, we seized like $22 million in cash. Just cash, strictly. And that we lost like 3.5, I think, around Thanksgiving or something. We couldn't find it because it was hard because he wasn't using the phone. He put the phone in the bag. He would use a different phone. But it was really a success, even though they didn't arrest him. He actually fled to Mexico. We never found him. I don't know if they ever found him again.
Maybe this will open up the case.
That was so many years.
Maybe
I don't
we'll
even
try.
know. I think it was like 2000. It was so long ago.
Oh, wow.
So it was crazy. I don't know. Well, we know who's dead somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that gives you of the stuff that we have to deal with. Like, you have to get creative. If you have no creativity, I'm telling you, this is not the job for you.
No.
You really have to get creative. Find a way. I remember I had another case, and this is like the three instances. That one was one. And then I had another one that I see his phone number because I do phone analysis, just like you do any other analysis.
Yeah.
And I keep seeing this number, and I can't ID him because it's a prepaid phone.
Okay.
No, nothing. Couldn't find it anywhere. I beg people to please do surveillance, because you have to go with the triggerfish and try to find it, whatever. And nothing. Nobody will help me. It was a New York number. Nobody will help. Then I called one of my coworkers here, and I said to him, hey, can you, because I know they have access to other databases.
They do, yeah.
And I said, can you please run? And, I don't know what he did. 2 weeks later, he says, I got your guy. I'm like, really? I was crying. I'm like, no. Mind you, this has been like 3-4 months already.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm getting so because I keep seeing the number, and I'm like, who is this person? Like, he's like a connection between all these people. Apparently, he had an accident on the New Jersey Turnpike, and he gave us the phone number as his contact information. I was like, hallelujah, you're so dumb, but I'm glad you're dumb.
Honestly, sometimes criminals can be so dumb.
They are dumb. Some people need to be in jail just for being dumb, to be honest with you. And then after that, the rest of history, I was able to ID him.
Yeah.
He had gone to jail the week before to visit somebody got arrested with 25 kilos. I'm like, what else you want?
Yeah, exactly.
So then the rest is history in there.
He's just walking into prison.
Yes. And then my biggest case was with the Jorge Cifuente case, which started back in Ecuador when I first got transferred. One of my coworkers from headquarters says, hey, I only have a first name. I know he's Mexican, but we don't know anything else about him.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So I called the cops in Ecuador, and I said, I need you to pull me all the immigration records in the last year. Now they printed it. Print. We're talking about print. They printed it because, there's certain things that they can't have access to. Or somebody did the favor, whatever. It's very political in South America. It's not like here.
It is.
No, here too.
Although it is quite big.
Exactly. And then I started looking. And then I narrowed it down to 3. And then I gave it to them. And I said, can you find a little more? And then we found him. He was from Sinaloa. He had a shrimp business in Ecuador. Supposedly he listed an address, but the address was non-existent. So the cops went ahead and put an alert on him. I don't think it was a week later, he bought a ticket to come into Ecuador, and the cops followed him. We were able to ID. Now, Ecuador at that time had no telephone interceptions.
Right.
So it was all just surveillance.
Wow.
Like these cops were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, there were elections. In order for them to get close to the houses, they actually went like they were doing the elections and they were doing polls and just so they can look. They went to the other side and just so we found the farm where they had all the go fast. So once the water rise, the go fast go out.
Yeah.
He was seen buying the big engines. He had cash because we also made him stop by the transit police because the transit police has no arrest powers.
Okay.
So they saw that, and then that's it. That was the logistic guy in Ecuador for Chapa Guzman.
Wow.
Out of a name and a whole bunch of records.
Wow.
So it's like you really have to, if you really want to, you really have to go out there and not give up.
Yeah.
I never gave up. Like the guy with the phone number with the accident,
Right.
begging people, always doing this. And after I'm like, no, I can't. Like this guy, I have to find out who he is.
Yeah.
And I did.
And that's great because, and it is true. Sometimes, I mean, as a good investigator, you have to know when to stop, but you also know when to be, persistent or who to contact. I've actually found sometimes isn't such an underrated skill is knowing who to contact. And then that can actually push your investigation forward in a different way. Just like the phone call, having that number, given to an officer to help, that really opened up the case as well.
Yeah,
So
it helped me a lot. And then just like that, there are many instances. I had so many instances like that. It was, but you can't, like, you really have to. Of course, it's a little different with the government because you have more access to more
Right, this is
databases and
it.
you have access to more people, and they're able to help you.
Yeah.
But even so, they were not. Some of them will not help you. But
Yeah.
I think you can't give up. You really need to keep trying. And when it comes to financial crimes, it gets a little difficult when you're in the private sector because it's sort of like you stop right there and then you don't know what happened.
Right.
Like I have a case at the bank right now. Like we can see the money going and going out, but I'm wondering what happened. Like I wonder what happened.
Yeah, where is it going and why?
Exactly.
And sometimes that's actually key in financial crime. Like you can follow the money, but to actually put it into a report, to understand the typology, to actually put, your analysis into an investigation for prosecution has to tie in as well. You can't just have data without being able to provide, the background of it or to be able to provide that into real life. And that is also a key skill that you can't, I do also think takes time because having, the analytical skill and putting that into a good document for prosecution is also different.
Exactly. It's different. They're very different because what I did was prosecution ready. And you have to make sure that what you put in makes sense.
Yes.
And so
with the evidence, with
Exactly.
you pivoting the information, how can you pivot a transaction into
what does it mean?
Exactly.
And so your whole analytical part kicks in and your creativity. Also, we used to get a lot of intel information and we have to kind of work backwards.
Yeah.
So we can actually use it in court. I used to hate to go into that system because if I can't use it in court, I don't want it because I don't want to make mistakes.
Which is true. Yeah.
But, sometimes they're like, you have to. I was like, okay, I will. So I think in terms of with crypto, it's so important collaboration. You need to have on board your law enforcement. You need to have your lawyers. You have to need, everyone. So this can be a successful
and you
investigation.
have to be able to be on the same path and side. Because in law enforcement, in one of the other episodes, I spoke about that. Actually, it was with Neil, who is a defense lawyer, and he was ex-law enforcement as well. And that's what we found with the Crown Prosecution Service and being in law enforcement. We were quite confident as law enforcement officers that the case will go through and will win. But prosecution were not. And that was not aligned. And I find there's a bit more alignment on the
Always.
private side. Government side, not always.
Yeah, with the government, you need to have your lawyer, your AUSA there, line up. They know everything, reports, so they can guide you. Okay, stay away from that, go to that. I think it's so important to have you, and even if you have an in-house counsel too, the in-house counsel should be, there were many times that I will hit up the in-house, hey, I want to do this. How can I do this? And they will give you, okay, but this is, so you also have to become very informative. I think it's so important. I was in a gaming forum this past 2 days, and what did the FinCEN guy said? Communication. What did the whole thing say? Communication, collaboration. That's all you can hear. Communication, collaboration. This is interesting part. The FinCEN guy said, you want to learn more about AML, VSA? Read consent orders.
Yes.
And people don't read that. I read the whole Binance. When I told him that, he was like, what? I was like, yeah, I read the whole Binance. I
You
wrote
read every
Paxful.
single page. I know that because I saw your LinkedIn.
Oh my God. I'm reading to this and I'm like, this is like a bad love story. But anyway, I think this is another way that you can learn, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Also, especially when I focus on the crypto side, I think what I'm working on right now is more on my tracing and be able to identify things. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time. I wish I did, but I'm doing my master's degree. I'm doing a lot of these conferences too. Next week, I have to be back in New York. I have to work. I have my part-time job at the restaurant too, because if I don't have my part-time restaurant at the job, I can't pay for a lot of this stuff. So it is challenging. But, if you really want it, it's how much you want it.
How much?
It's really
Alexandra,
how much.
you're so busy.
I am very busy. And in the meantime, I was at work right now and I was listening to the chain analysis one.
Yeah.
I was the report. It's like, 88 pages?
Yeah.
I think I'm on page 30, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Just listening. I
How
haven't
do you
even.
do this?
The first one I listened, just listen. And then I go back and then I looked, to see if I find anything. And then I take the parts that I think that are important and then I work from that.
Wow. Alexandra, being a female and, especially being in a ex-DEA officer, whilst you were working as a DEA officer, how did you navigate, winning your team over, especially being a female, but also, being an ethnic minority? And I am assuming having majority of your team that are, the typical profile that we, tend to see as DEA officers. How did you manage that?
The great thing about my career and per se, I always I have to say that the majority of your drug traffickers back in the day were all Spanish speakers.
Yes.
I mean, the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
So going to Colombia, I didn't have much of that. I think I did have a little hesitation from the actual cops at the beginning because they didn't know who I was or what my skills. But when they started to realize that I knew the phones, they were a little more open. When it came to my agents that I work with, some were great, some other ones were not that great. But the ones that were great, they really utilized me to make them. I would never forget one of the agents said to me, can you just tell me what's going on so I can look good? I will make you look good. I have no problem. Because you know what? They were very good to me. So I did that. So I never really had that problem when it came to, and then I went to, when I went to Puerto Rico, that was very different.
Okay.
That's when I was, they had this idea that because I came from Colombia, I knew it all.
Okay.
So they were all relying on me. And if I didn't, they felt like they actually complained.
No way.
They did. They complained because I wasn't helping them.
Enough?
Because I wasn't helping them. Okay, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. I can guide you through it, but I can't tell. So they really complained about me.
Wow.
That was so funny. And I said to my boss, what am I supposed to do the job? I'm like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Well, you're the expert. I just got off the plane from Colombia.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my way here. So I think those were the only, but overall, I didn't have, also, I feel like as an intelligence analyst, you have more females
Okay.
in that area. And also, I was just one of the guys, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I have never felt like out of place,
Yeah.
except for the instances that I just told you. But I think I had a great run. I love somebody. I mean, I'm still friends with a lot of them. I love DEA. There's political stuff that I
Right.
wish they were different.
Yeah.
I think that's
And I
where
think that's
people.
always the case when
Yeah,
you're
I
in
think that's where people
government.
get disappointed.
Yeah, yeah.
when
Well,
you
and
see them.
especially in government jobs,
Yeah.
there's always, I mean, even in private sector, there is politics, but it's just very different to government politics.
Exactly. I learned it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you need to get to know your bosses.
Yeah. So we're getting to the last segment of our episode. So you get to choose your own question, but it's through choosing an asset. So, Alexandra, what do you choose? Cash, crypto, or commodities?
I think cash is.
Cash?
No, I don't want to take cash because I think cash is risky. I think crypto is risky. I think I will do commodities.
Commodities?
I think
wow,
so.
something like gold.
I like gold. I can do silver. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's.
To be honest, I've always been a commodities person as well. But I think it might just be because of my background. Indians and Africans love their jewels. So I think that's probably
I
why.
don't know, but somebody asked me. I think it was on Monday. How much crypto do you have? I have none. I have properties.
Yeah.
I don't want crypto.
Yeah.
I buy houses.
I have more properties and commodities than crypto,
I have some
actually.
gold too, but no. I keep I like my houses.
So, if you're choosing commodities, your question is, what is one success that you had if you could do it over and over again? What would it be?
One success I had, I think I would go back to the whole Jorge Cifuentes and Chapo Guzman case. I think the case was amazing. I learned a lot. There was one thing that I wish I'd done differently, and it was when it came to Chapo's nephew. Chapo's nephew was truly the center of Chapo. Like, I don't even think Chapo knew so much like Alfredo did. He will travel all around. He was the one coordinating. He was the one negotiating. He was doing everything because Chapo couldn't travel. So, but he could travel. And when Nacho Coronel got murdered, I mean, not murdered, but he was the attempt to arrest him, but they killed him.
Yeah.
He went back. And then he never traveled again. And I always wonder what happened. And I always had reports that he was killed, but then he will show up again.
Okay.
And then the last one, they told me, no, he got killed. And they sent me the photos. And I was like, I have never felt so sad. And not because, well, of course he's alive, you know what I mean? But not because he was not, he was doing bad things too. But I feel like with him, a lot of intel died with him. And I always beg the AUSA to do something to just, let's find the venue so we can arrest him, so we can extradite him. Because if you want to know anything, this is the person that knows it all. I remember the cops were in surveillance and they dropped surveillance. And I'm like, why did you drop surveillance?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, we dropped. And then guess what? 10 minutes later, he was meeting with the biggest source of supply in Colombia. Because they needed the drugs and Jorge couldn't provide anymore because he owed them money, so they needed to find somebody else. And I'm like, why would you do that? And I think if I could do that part again, I would love to just go back, arrest him, extradite him, and sit with him for hours to talk
and get all the intelligence from him. It's very true. He would have been a great intelligence source,
he would have been a
right?
great source. I think he could have been. He will tell his secretarios, okay, you're going to go check this load. You're going to pick up this package from different parts, and then test them.
Wow.
Like, he was so detailed. He will come to, people will just reach out to him. He will go to the border of Peru and Ecuador and go visit labs.
Okay.
So you imagine that the magnitude that he had, like what he represented for them, and nobody knew about him.
No.
That was the thing. Nobody. I even asked Margarito, who's going to be with me on that webinar, did you know him? He's like, no, I don't know him. Because he was the one traveling in South America doing all the negotiation, all the coordinations, for the loads only. Like he didn't do transportation, no, that was not his job. His job was the testing, making sure that everything was there, making sure that everything left. So I think we should indict him, and we should
part to play, and you recognize that.
Oh my God! This was like one of the saddest days of my life when I found out he was murdered.
And he went with all that intelligence.
I wish I would have just snatched him. I used to say, let's snatch him.
Yeah,
let's deport him, and we'll deport him to Puerto Rico. He has no visa. We'll retain him.
I love that.
Yeah, I wish.
That's your creative side.
That's it. I'm telling you. I would say, okay, because in Ecuador and Colombia, they have different things that they can do. They can expel you on immigration. So I'm like, can we expel him on immigration or something? Let's find something. And we just get him a flight like Puerto Rico, Mexico, but you don't have visa. So you're going to have to stay here until we can do something. And then just convince him to cooperate.
That's crazy. That would have been amazing. What a lost chance.
I think that's one of the saddest days that I had in my career.
Yeah.
Saddest event. I wish, I'm sure everybody can talk about it, but what he saw, like he would tell Chapo, like, oh, I saw this, but not the specific, like what was that, who he met, how much did they offer? Some people offer him 1,000 kilos a week. And the secretaries were like, oh, you need to come over here. And he's like, no, I'm not going. And how did he know where to pick, where to go, and where not to go? Like, exactly. If he was doing the same thing, why would you not go to Urabá and you send, your secretarios instead? Right. Why? And, all these questions, and you're like, okay, I guess.
That's all that unanswered questions remain, right?
A lot.
Gosh. Alexandra, it's been absolutely great having you on. And as I ask all my guests, I need you to write a question for my next guest that will come after. So I just want to say thank you again. And I'll pass you my book so that you can write a question for...
Thank you.
For my next guest.
It's been fun.
It's been amazing listening to your story and also how you do so much. I don't know how you have the time to do a master's, to work part-time, to have a full-time job, to, read all of these papers and summarize them, then do all these conferences, continue to learn. You're a superwoman. It's
Thank you.
Untrue.
Thank you.
You're definitely a superwoman.
I try really. I really think I really want my crypto job. I have had a couple interviews. Of course, I don't have an intensive tracing knowledge.
Yeah.
But
that comes with time.
Honestly.
You have a lot of other skills which are transferable is the way I see it. Because, tracing is one part of crypto jobs. Actually analyzing the big picture and the small details is very different.
Exactly. Like I spoke to somebody she's an amazing tracer, but when she told me something about something that I did, and I'm like, okay, but why? Mm-hmm. I said, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like I don't. I'm not concerned about where. I just want to know why. From here, it went back here.
Right.
This is my question. Why? Yeah. Was there something wrong? Was it that you paid too much? Was it that something didn't make it and I had to give you money back? Like, what is it? Mm-hmm. And I think that's when the human intelligence comes in, and you need I really think that an informant will make things a lot easier.
And I guess it's also being inquisitive. That's the best part. Like, asking that additional question, why, you can dig in deeper and you'll probably be able to understand a bit more of the behavioral analysis, which sometimes is missed. Mm-hmm. Like if you're always following the money, that's fine. But asking the additional question, you might uncover more information on that individual's, behavior, but through financial, financial movement more than the actual, demeanor.
Exactly. With crypto, you can follow the money. That's so great.
Yeah.
And then and now you have systems that alert you and they say, hey, this moved. My time, I didn't have no system.
No.
I had to go look, like I told you, papers and look at Excel sheets and look at the manual work. It's the same thing that you do with Arkham and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Manual. I'm doing manual. That's great. I don't care. I just want to know why this went back and why this went back.
Exactly.
Why I send you 130,000 and you send me 33 back. What's the reason behind that? That's what I want to know. And then I can see the money goes and it ends on an exchange and we can go and get the subpoena. But you also have to see the whole thing. And I think a lot of these crypto companies, they get too hung up on, you don't know how to trace. Well, how about you do the tracing and I'll do the analysis?
Yeah.
And then you can tell me what. And I think that's when a lot of companies, especially the smaller companies, they're forgetting that behind all this, you need analysis. You need to be ready for prosecution, because if a company gave you this and they want to know, they lost money, they want to know what's the next step. Where's that money? Well, here it is. Contact law enforcement. Here's, and now let's make sense out of it.
Yeah. And also understanding the whole profile. If you understand your subject, the transactional analysis will ultimately open up the whole profile anyways. If you're just looking at transactions without understanding the profile, can you really give a good prosecution-ready document? Not really.
No. And I think also knowing how to run investigation, and I think you're going to see that a lot on these smaller crypto companies, that they are going to need people that can actually analyze and make sense out of the tracing, because it's great. I can do the tracing. Might take me a while, but hey, I can do it.
I mean, anyone can. At some point, you have to understand that the analytical tools is literally us pressing the button, but then really understanding what this means.
It's funny. I was in a presentation and they said they put these tracing. And I said, how did you get that first? Well, the system. The system. So you didn't find it. It was the system who found it. Imagine me trying to find these phone numbers.
Exactly. See, having additional information.
It's just like when you start from nothing. When a CS comes to you and says, I have a phone number, and that's it. And then you take that phone number and you run with it to see where it takes you.
Right.
It's the same. But it's not the same with this. Now, when you have an informer coming in, here's a wallet address you can run with. But when the system alerts you, it's a little easier.
It is.
Because you know where it's coming from. Okay.
Yeah,
and then now all these systems that they have that you can deconflict, I think it's great.
I think so too. And I do hope you do land, your perfect crypto job. Let's put it that way. Because,
my gaming with crypto. I met so many interesting bits.
It could be gaming with crypto.
I can't wait. I can't wait. That's what I want to do.
And gaming has a lot of opportunities.
Gaming is, yesterday I listened to the head of human resources for Hard Rock Cafe, the Hard Rock, the company.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I have a crush on Hard Rock. It's amazing. I met the lawyer and I met the #1 global lawyer for Hard Rock. And they're like, do you need a job? No worries. I'll get you a job. I was like, okay.
That sounds ideal.
But why? Because I'm there. I'm a student.
Exactly.
They're asking me questions. Oh, well, what classes are you taking? What classes? It's not a random thing.
No.
But what did you do before? And, he took the time to sit there and talk to me. So I think that's really important too.
That is nice. And it's always good to be a student. Like that. I mean, that's the way I see life anyway. We're always students, aren't we?
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Students every day.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode as well. I hope you will also join Alexandra on her panels, her conferences, her webinars. And I'm sure you're going to see more of Alexandra. And you'll probably want to keep up with her. And guys, I will see you on our next episode. Thank you again. Leave a like if you enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment and let me know what else you want me to discuss. And subscribe to stay tuned for more.